Hello there, and welcome to a brand new series of Semajically AI. The second series starts here with the premiere episode. Let's get to it. Liam was a young man who had a tendency to fall into a daydream every time he had to do something he didn't think was important enough for his attention. This had been going on since he was 7 years old, and nobody knew why. He was out for a walk one day when he came to a zebra crossing and prepared to cross the street. He switched off and started daydreaming as he walked across the road without getting hit by a single vehicle waiting for him to cross as they stopped. This amazed everyone who witnessed it as he returned to normal upon reaching the other side safely and walking on. Bystander 1. How the F* did he not get run over? He entered the local park and started walking around the path, thinking to himself, falling back into his daydream as he walked, as safety was not that important to him at all. A ball came flying his way, but he returned to normal just before the ball hit him, catching it. This caught the boys whose ball it was off guard. They were stunned by what they'd just witnessed. They asked him how he managed to snap out of his dream state so suddenly, as he gave them their ball back, but even he didn't know how he did it, or why it happened to him. As he walked home, he wondered aloud to himself how he always managed to fall into a daydream and wake up before putting himself in any danger. This caused him to daydream again, and this time it happened just as a car came driving straight towards him, and he didn't wake up before the car knocked him down. The driver rushed to his aid, called an ambulance to come and take him to the hospital. The police asked him how it happened, and he reported the accident accurately. It was a marvel this had never happened before now, and they didn't know if Liam would survive or not.
Welcome back to the Magic Mansion, where we catch up with our magical friends of all kinds of magic. There's the landlord who owns the mansion. His name is Julius Ganderman. He's a very powerful wizard who has been alive for over 1,000 years, as wizards can live much longer than normal humans. Well, the truly mystical beings like him can potentially live forever, considering that they are not born on the earth, but in a magical realm far across the known universe among the divine beings who created our universe in the first place. So what we perceive to be magic is actually their divine power set, making them divine beings unto themselves. It is, however, easier to perceive it as magic, because that's what it generally is when we see items being levitated, and these beings transfiguring into animals, and inanimate objects being transfigured to come to life. Over in the mystic lakes dwell such magical creatures as mermaids, nymphs, and dryads, who are all very friendly and fragile beings. High up in the trees and among the woods are such creatures as fairies, pixies, sprites, phoenixes, dragons, griffins, leprechauns, elves, gnomes, and dwarves. In the frozen lands there live a tribe of yeti, a herd of flying reindeer, and live snowmen. Beyond the magical Aurora Borealis stands the home and workshop of Santa Claus, the most important being of the Christmas season. Humans who wish to live among us have to be converted to be compatible with the powers they're taking on, and then enroll into any of the magical learning institutions to study magic and learn how to control it properly, which has become commonplace nowadays. But it wasn't always that way. That's all for now. See you next time.
Laura was a young girl who enjoyed playing outside with her friends on nice days and her dolls on rainy days. But there was a problem with her attitude towards some things. She often told lies about things when she thought she wasn't going to get her own way, and people were fed up with her doing this all the time. Her mum, Kerry, had warned her time and time again she'd be grounded if she didn't stop lying to people all the time. It was Friday afternoon, and Laura was on her way home from school when she saw some bullies picking on a boy from her class named Norman. So she intervened and managed to stop the violence before it got worse. She did this by telling the bullies that it was illegal to be bullied, and she should have them arrested for bullying her classmate. This was a lie, of course, but the bullies were so stupid they believed it and ran as fast they could. She walked Norman home and helped him explain why he was late home. His parents thought her lie was clever and thanked her for rescuing their son. As soon as she walked in the front door of her mum's house, She took off her shoes and entered the living room where Kerry pulled out into a tight embrace. She'd heard about how Laura had lied to bullies about it being against the law to bully just to get bullies to stop picking on her classmate Norman, and was proud of her for using her lies in an appropriate manner. Laura wasn't going to argue against the hypocrisy of her mother's actions, because for once she'd done the right thing by lying to save a victim of bullying from being bullied any further. The next day she was reading one of her favourite children's books instead of doing her homework. When Kerry caught her, she stood before her with her hands on her hips. "Kerry, why aren't you doing your homework, young lady?" "Laura, I am doing my homework." "Kerry, don't you lie to me, young lady. You're reading a book which we both know is not part of the assignment." "Laura, but it is part of the assignment. We were to do a book report on a book of our own choosing, be it fiction or non-fiction, as long as it's appropriate for school." Kerry confiscated the books from Laura and grabbed her off the chair. "Kerry, you are a very naughty girl, do you understand me? That's a dirty fib and you know it. Your assignment is to do a report on what you did this weekend. Go to your room right now, young lady." "Laura." "Why, Kerry?" "Because right now you missy are grounded. No arguments, just go to your room, naughty girl." Laura went to her room, but she didn't use the time to reflect on her behavior. She instead used it to amuse herself, despite that not being what being grounded meant under this roof.
We take you all the way back to the Cretaceous period, when the last herd of dinosaurs was still alive, around 66 million years ago, in a prehistoric jungle. The dinosaurs were flying, stalking and stomping around, minding their own business, eating and swimming in the lake at the end of the jungle. There were 2 Tyrannosaurus rexes, 3 pterodactyls, 1 stegosaurus, 1 velociraptor and 4 diplodocus. So there weren't many of them left, as all their other ancestors and close descendants were all but extinct. That was until something came hurtling down on them from the dark of the night. The unknown phenomenon from the skies was descending on them like nothing ever had before. We're going to pause here just to say we know this was actually a comet. The comet was flying into the Earth's atmosphere at the dinosaurs at an incredible rate, and all the existent dinosaur species scattered as fast as they could to hide wherever they could do so. Caves and foliage, but even that didn't do the trick. As there was a huge kaboom, that was it. All the remaining dinosaurs were now dead, thanks to the comet for wiping them out. Oh no, wait a minute, what's this? A rustling of leaves, a mass of leaves being torn from a tree by a dinosaur, more stomping around. Let's take a look for ourselves, shall we? What the heck is going on here? All those dinosaurs have survived? Who would have thought it?
There's a hidden continent located far west of the known world, which is populated by humanoid talking animals from all walks of life, and all the nations that make our fair land. The Sky Nations are home to our avian population from such countries as Turkey, Chikenza, Preyu, Parrotson, Flappurana, Noir Avia, and Pico. All the flight-worthy birds are inhabitants of these countries. They have their own royalty at Cluckingham Palace, Squawk FM, and Amalia Airlines. The Earth Nations are home to all the land mammals and flightless birds who live in the countries of Porkistan, Bovinia, Katzlivania, Badgerton, Ursinia, Caninada, Ostraca, and Squaralia. It is also home to the Society of Mammals and Flightless Birds. The Equine Nations are home to all the horses of the land. It contains the countries of Shetland and Clydesdale. It is also home to all the horse racing venues and events. The Aqua Nations are home to all the aquatic birds, mammals, and fish of the continent. The countries of Wales, the Dolfinican Republic, Crustacea, Duckingham, Swallow-Zealand, Puffinolia, and Pengua. It is also home to the Whaleway Network, the Sea Circus, and the Shark Mafia. And finally, the Prime Nation is the capital of Animalia, home to a mix of creatures of different species, living together in harmony and peace. It is also home to the Animalia Education System, Theatre District, lush parks, playgrounds, police station, and the pride and joy of Animalia, the Human Liaison Office, which is here for all our inhabitants to liaise with humans, who we have a very good relationship with. London is the capital of the continent, which is ruled over by Leo III of his name, a strong, proud lion who is king of the continent. So why not come and pay us a visit? All you have to do is wish yourself here, and you will be here. That's what the commercial said as Adam Barnsley sat there on the sofa watching television, bored by what he was watching. Adam Barnsley. What have I got to lose? He said to himself, closed his eyes, and wished hard, only to find himself standing in a busy city crowded with lots of humanoid animals bustling around. He walked around trying to be noticed by someone, but had no luck at that moment.
Natasha was a young girl who had a serious problem with her behavior. She was a very naughty girl who always used bad language and never did anything she was told. Her parents, Sam and Ella, were always in despair over their daughter's behavior. "Good morning, Natasha." Natasha just ignored her. "Answer your mother this instant, Natasha. She just said good morning to you." Natasha just rolled her eyes at them. "Fuck off, Mom and Dad." Sam and Ella were gobsmacked by what their daughter had said to them. "Natasha Denise Littman, how dare you use such foul language towards us? We are your parents. That's very rude, disrespectful and naughty." Natasha was walking away from them. Sam barred her way out of the kitchen. "Get out of my way, Dad. No, you young lady are going to sit down and listen to us. Now." "And how exactly do you plan to make me do that?" Sam lifted her up and placed her at the table. She was taken aback by this, but didn't stay quiet for long. "That's not fair." Ella placed a dummy in her mouth. "Ella, we won't have any of that horrible babyish racket, thank you. Now you are being very naughty this morning, and your father and I are extremely disappointed in you. What do you have to say for yourself?" Ella removed the dummy so Natasha could speak clearly. "Natasha, I don't know why you and Dad are treating me like this." Ella put the dummy back in her mouth. Natasha sat there with the dummy in her mouth like a baby for her behavior. This was so degrading, but it was her punishment for being so naughty and babyish. She spat it out after 2 minutes and ran from the room, mortified. She returned a moment later. "Natasha, I'm sorry for my behavior, Mum and Dad. I know it was wrong to act that way. It won't happen again." They all hugged tightly.
Ryan Aldrich was a young boy of 12, who was just starting out on his path to life. He was starting his first term at a new school where he was greeted by prefects with a warm shake of the hand. The prefects escorted him to the headmaster's office where he was welcomed warmly by the headmaster and briefed about the rules and what was expected of him as a pupil at his school before taking him to his tutor room where he was welcomed warmly by his classmates who agreed to show him around and introduce him to everyone else. He did really well for a new pupil. That's when it got out that he had transferred from the most prestigious private school due to his parents no longer being able to afford to pay the fees with a 4.0 grade point average, meaning he was a boffin. 6 years later, he left the school with top grades in his GCSE and AS-level exams, which got him a place at one of the country's top universities. He was going to Oxford University and he had a place at Magdalen College, which was one of the best schools in the country. He was going to study history and geography for the next 3 years. He entered Magdalen that autumn, where he went on to excel in both history and geography over the next 3 years of hard work and dedication. 3 years later, he graduated from Oxford with a first-class degree in history and geography. He was extra specially proud to have attended one of the top universities in the country and graduated with first-class honors in history and geography, and couldn't wait to get started with his career. 5 years later, he was working as the history and geography teacher at Lower Dawlin Primary School, and he was a damn good teacher. One of the best in the school, as a matter of fact. 2 years later, he married the school's English teacher, Miss Sophie Frost, making her Mrs. Aldrich. It was a lovely ceremony. They honeymooned in Barbados for a month. A year later, they had a son named Jasper, and they loved him so much. 5 years later, They returned to university to take the master's course in English for Sophie and history and geography for Ryan, which was going to take them a year each to earn. They were students at Magdalen College, Oxford. A year later, they both graduated from Oxford with their master's degrees and returned to teaching, not as primary school teachers, but secondary, instead as they were promoted to GCSE and AS-level teachers in English for Sophie and history and geography for Ryan. They were two of the best teachers in the school once again. 3 years later, their daughter Rosie was born, and they loved her to absolute pieces. Many years later, they became grandparents and retired to a nice country cottage to live their twilight years in peace.